তাজা কমলা আর আমের মজা হাতের মুঠোয় রে ও প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক মানে লাইফে ডাবল মজা রে ও প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক
তৃষ্ণা মেটাতে মন ভরাতে আসল কমলা আর আমের স্বাদে প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক।
ঠান্ডা ঠান্ডা তাজা তাজা কমলা আর আমের মজা হাতের মুঠোয় রে ও প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক মানে লাইফে ডাবল মজা রে ও প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক
তৃষ্ণা মেটাতে মন ভরাতে আসল কমলা আর আমের স্বাদে প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক।
Let's change the day.
ঘুরে যা আর মনে ভেসে যা অজানা খুশিতে হারিয়ে চল জীবনে টক মিষ্টি স্বাদের মজা নে জীবনে আছে কি আজ হারাবার তুই বল
আম আর তেঁতুলের চটপটা মজাদার স্বাদে প্রমি চাটনি জীবন হোক না আর একটু বেশি টক মিষ্টি।
এসে গেল তাজা আমের মজায় আমরস ম্যাঙ্গো জুস ঠান্ডা টক মিষ্টি স্বাদ আর পুষ্টি আমরস ম্যাঙ্গো জুস
টেস্টি জুসি আসল আমের রস মানেই আমরস। আমরস ম্যাঙ্গো জুস
টাটকা তাজা খেতে মজা।
বাংলার চিরচেনা স্বাদ সিয়াম এগ্রো লিমিটেডের বিস্কুট, চানাচুর, চিনিগুড়া চাল সহ মন মাতানো স্বাদের সকল পণ্য এখন বিশ্ব জয় করে বাংলাদেশে। মুনাফুড, স্বাস্থ্যকর, সুস্বাদু।
ঠান্ডা ঠান্ডা তাজা তাজা কমলা আর আমের মজা হাতের মুঠোয় রে ও প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক মানে লাইফে ডাবল মজা রে ও প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক
তৃষ্ণা মেটাতে মন ভরাতে আসল কমলা আর আমের স্বাদে প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক।
Peace and blessing upon you all. This is your host Waheed Uddin, live from Dublin, Ireland, for the show Community Talk for Channel 19. Previously, we have program called Community Talk, and the topic of discussion was Muslims in Ireland. And in the topic, we have discussed the history of Muslims, and also we have discussed the key topics like parenting, education, and some other challenges. But today's topic of discussion is integration. And in order to discuss this topic, we have people who have vision and they are working in the field for integration. I'd like to introduce our guest. First guest is Mr. Dr. Rizwan Khan, founder, chairman of Kerry Islamic Outreach Society. And our second guest is Sister Lorraine O'Connor, chairperson, Muslim Sisters of Eire. And our third guest is Mr. Shamim, and he is a founder of Tasnuva Shamim Foundation, Ireland. I'd like to welcome you all.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and also thanks guests for joining for the program. We will just straight away touch the topic of discussion, and the topic of discussion is integration, and we would like to give 60 seconds of time to each panel member to let us know what integration means to them. First, we would like to start with Dr. Khan.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So for me, the integration comes up with the same idea which the Irish government have made in a policy at this moment of time in the last few months. I would say that this is about how to achieve and how to attain a certainty of understanding between the two groups. One is the native group and one is the migrant group, while keeping and preserving identity as well. So in that way, both groups can able to acquire and achieve equal opportunities, and then they will move forward in order to have a cohesive and coherent community.
Thank you, Khan. May I ask Sister Lorraine to give her thoughts about integration?
Assalamu alaikum, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So similar to what Brother Radwan there said, it's integration to me is bringing different minority groups together and working as one and understanding each different ethnic minorities group's value, and to have a tighter, a cohesive, or basically a cohesive, how could I say, environment to live in. And that is an understanding of integration coming together. So it's just respecting each other's minority groups. There's many minorities out there, different minority groups that do need to be respected, and their values all need to come together.
Okay, thank you. May I ask Mr. Shamim, what are your thoughts about integration?
Very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yes, I just will say same thing like Sister Lorraine. Alhamdulillah, this is my understanding that integration is really bring community, regardless race, religion, all community being together and get them opportunity to know each other and connect with each other, make a better connection to build a strong community.
Okay, thank you. As you know, like in Ireland, there are more than 170 nationalities living in Ireland, and majority of them are living in the big cities. And integration in the big cities is challenging when compared to small counties or towns. And when we think about integration, may I ask Dr. Rizwan Khan, what are the main barriers one individual may come across when it comes to integration into the society?
I have to say, Waheed, that like obviously I work, not work, I live in Dublin for 12 years. Before at some stage I moved to Tralee in County Kerry, where you have seen most of the people who know Kerry Islamic Outreach Society, our work. Sadly, there are different um, factors, there are different kind of variables between the bigger community and the smaller community, but I think the essence is the same. The essence is the barrier is that like it's more about communication, and it's more about taking incentives and motivation. There should be, I would say, the individuals among the community who would be able to take some initiatives with pure right intention, that their main aim is to have integration and harmony among the two communities. And unless these motivation steps are not taken, it is difficult to achieve that. So the barriers are uh, lack of awareness, not communicating, not understanding each other's sides as well, and probably staying in our own holes or bubbles, and not caring about the others.
Thank you. Sister Lauren, do you like to add anything to what Dr. Khan said about awareness, lack of awareness? What do you think is the reason behind the lack of awareness?
Okay, I just want to go back to something he said earlier. Your question. Your question was in the city. It's easier to integrate than the outside. I think it's actually harder in the country
No, it's
than
the
it
other way
is in the
around.
city. Yeah, sorry, it's hard. It's the opposite way around, because the country, it's Midlands, it's smaller, the communities are smaller, the opportunities are smaller. I think no one knows better than Dr. Rizwan. He's been doing an amazing job down in Tralee. Him and his wife I know personally, and I've worked with him on many occasions. And I think it is the complete opposite. It's actually easier to integrate now in 2020 in mainland Dublin than it was when we were established in 2010. Okay, there was lots of barriers then, and it was like, this is just a new little organization starting. Just leave them in the corner. They'll be fine. They'll go away. It's about determination. It's about continuing. When you have a goal inside you and a passion, it's holding on to that passion and never giving up. Alhamdulillah, tabarakallah. And I say everything is from Allah. We celebrated our 10th anniversary this year. And it's through that determination, and it's through that working, and it's through working on a grassroots level and out with the community, not only the Muslim community, the outer community, the non-Muslim community. That is the way forward. That is the way forward for acceptance and dialogue. And dialogue, with dialogue comes the breaking of complete stereotyping.
Thank you. Mr. Shamim, you have earlier mentioned when I met you personally, you said like interaction is the key to integration. Can you elaborate on that piece?
That's a great. The interaction is. If you talk about interaction, interaction is related with every part of your life actually. Because interactions in Ireland, there is the impact. You can see people are isolating, people are having problem with mental health, people are having a problem with not talking to their neighbors because of the lakes of the opportunity in the integration. We get less opportunity to meet each other and to connect with others. In Irish people, especially the ministerians, are very interested to introduce other culture with Irish society. Because Irish people, the culture, people are more interested. As Sister Lorraine says, the interaction is today in interaction in 2010 is not the same. Before, people are not about so many about other people, or if they were no, they were not very interested to each other, no other people, migrant people. But today, if you ask any Irish people, very welcome the migrant. They're very interested to know culture, other culture, migrant culture. And if you invite Irish people, they're very welcome and they're very to join the program. In Ireland, is a very good opportunity. Come with England, the integration is
Sorry to
really a
interrupt
big
you. Uh,
opportunity.
yeah, you mean to mention you mean to say that like the opportunities for integration at the moment are far better when you compare to maybe let's say 10 years back. But may I ask, like, as
Yes.
we all know that like Muslims in Ireland are second generations, Dr. Khan, do you think the barriers for the first generation Muslims are different to the second generation Muslims who are at the moment maybe going to primary school, secondary school, or they are even at universities? Do you think there is a difference in the barriers for both generations?
Definitely, when we talk about the first generation versus second generation, Waheed, um, there's a whole lot of difference. The first generation, when they move, they will move with their cultural baggage as well. And a lot of times, you just mentioned the word Muslims, so I have to touch upon that as well. That means that we are talking about 50 different nationalities of Islamic countries coming here, bringing their own cultural baggage as well. And what the things happening to the second generation because of that, that it's a common finding. We are a outreach society. We look after every nationality in Tralee, Muslim point of view. And there is a
Okay.
push, there is a pressure from the family about some stuff on the name of Islam, which has nothing to do with Islam. But and the child is going to go to school, he will be influenced with the different kind of interaction and influence, simple as that. And then apparently at 18, 19, you are seeing a totally confused individual, because he or she does not know what is my identity, because I have to be pushed one way from my parents and I be pushed by one way about it. And again, it's coming because the migrants, I'm a migrant myself, I have to say. And if I'm not going to know even what is the Irish history, for example, if you look at the document you kindly sent me yesterday, I had a look of it, and they are right to mention it, like, do we really know about the Irish history anyway? And again, 2010 and 2020 for instance is that there are, mashallah, some organizations are coming as an example. I mean, when I'm talking about anybody to non-Muslims in Tralee or in Limerick or Killarney, I will be talking about Muslim Sisters of Ireland are serving the homeless. So these are the important things. And also Brother Shagor as well. I'm mashallah with Tasnuva Foundation. What I'm trying to say, like, these things 10 years ago doesn't exist, but Muslims does exist for the last 30 years in this country. So Alhamdulillah, things are moving in the positive direction, and we are more realizing that our second generation barriers are different. They go to school, and I think I'm a doctor, and I have many friends who are children are doctor, born and brought up in Ireland, and they are having no that kind of difficulty to go on the highest level of the hospital management or law or anything like that, as compared to what we have suffered or what we have seen through, I shouldn't be using the word suffered, or been through, only because it took us time to understand, and it's quite important that we acknowledge that, and we learn from it, rather than we would be just sitting in our holes and bubbles, which I said before, that minorities groups, regardless of the faith, if they take one step forward towards betterment of the wider community, response usually are three folds or four folds better. And that is the biggest difference between the Irish minorities, probably, and inshallah better in future, as compared to many other European countries, because we are more educated as well.
So, in your view, the things are going for better in terms of integration. May I ask Sister Lorraine, you are ethnically Irish and you have embraced Islam. And what sort of challenges you have come across when you became Muslim, and then you are, maybe may I say that you were the stranger in your own society? What type of integration barriers you have come across? Can you please explain that?
I wouldn't say a stranger in my own society. What I would say is I became a foreigner within my own society. I became an immigrant. And unfortunately, society changed my identity and my ethnicity. Once I start wearing a scarf, I became a foreigner. I heard pockets of racial discrimination, of like, go back to where you come from, you don't belong here. And then when I'd open my mouth and I have a very strong Dublin accent, I'd be then told, oh, well, then you forgot where you came from. And on the contrary, I'd say to people, no, I don't forget where I came from. Obviously, you have forgot where I came from. I changed my faith. I didn't change my identity. Who I pray to shouldn't identify me as a person. Lorraine O'Connor from the north side of Dublin should be my identity, and that should be suffice. That's where it ends. But unfortunately, Islamophobia is there. Am I going to say it's rising? I say it has risen and it has came back down a little bit. If the doors open, it will shoot back up again. So I suppose when I became a Muslim in 2005 and I wore my scarf for the first time, and now you have to remember in 1986 was the first time I heard about Islam, and the first time that I visited a mosque and lived among Muslims from 1986 to 2005. So I knew the community, I knew how the community worked, and it was my journey. My journey took 19 years before I said my Shahada, but alhamdulillah, we plan and Allah's the best of planners. So when I took that step and start wearing my hijab, and then I start seeing, okay, with my hijab, it's not also coming negativity, but it's coming a responsibility from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah knows why He put me on this journey. So I decided I'm going to have to do something. I can't. I've got young children. They're going to wear hijabs. I've all daughters. It's their future. So I suppose from 2005 to 2010, I went back to college. I studied women's studies. I got involved with women's organizations within the community. I got involved in activism. I got involved with Rape Crisis Centre, Women's Aid. And within them 5 years, I was gaining my own knowledge, my own self-confidence, and I was taking my own journey on Islam as well. And it was then in 2010, we have to establish something solid for Muslim women, because Muslim women who wear hijab, unfortunately, are the most perceived to be oppressed women in the whole of society. And we know that's wrong. We know that's not what Muslim women are about. So it's how I, as a Muslim woman, can conquer that and can break this public discourse and break this typical stereotyping. So this is how Muslim Sisters of Eire was formed, and this is how our work started, to achieve slowly breaking these stereotypical types and to curve that kind of growth of Islamophobia towards Muslim women, and to bring it back down. So after 10 years, we've reached that. I think we've reached a peak. There's a lot more climbing to do, but we're here. And it's a great sense of achievement after 10 years, and there's great recognition as well. So alhamdulillah.
Thank you. Mr. Shamim, can you give us a small brief about the barriers or the challenges which you come across personally when it comes to integration?
I would say, Brother Waheed, yes, thank you very much. Actually, as a foreigner, I find it quite hard at the beginning of our organization. When we started in GPO, serving homeless in soup kitchen, So at the beginning, because I have a beard, our group are Muslim, so it's very hard. First year, I found many times I have to be honest, with many who live in. But because Sister Lorraine was with me, worked together, because she is Irish, and it's really helped me at the beginning. So many times some people when they come to our soup kitchen, some people they really refuse to take because I am Muslim. But after with our work, person come to me and say sorry, and they after became our friend. So we work almost more than 4 years now in GP, and now the homeless, the Irish people even become our friend, and they come to help us now whenever we're in GPO. We don't have any problem anymore. At the beginning, we had a problem with I found difficulties because as a foreigner working in Irish society. But I tell you one thing actually about my neighborhood. Actually, I have a neighbor came to me after 8 years, and she told me, Shamim, here, my son told me you are a good person. Your work community in our believe me. After my came to me, tell me that I'm a good because I was for the community and actually for the integration program in choreography in the
I
last
see.
few years. And that's why I have connected the lady after even 8 years. Some mistakes time, even difficult, but and we can make it good with our good interactions, with
Okay,
our
just to
good
echo on
work
what you
with them.
said, Mr. Shamim, just to echo on what you said, doesn't matter what barriers, what hurdles you may come across when it comes to integration into society, you should keep going and be persistent and never get bogged on with the barriers. One of the barriers, or maybe we can say one of the strongest thing which we come across in the society is Islamophobia. It acts as a negative catalyst role in the process of integration. Dr. Rizwan, what do you think? What is the impact of Islamophobia on the society, and how the society should react to it?
Um, I think, first of all, when you define a society, you have to look into two ways: the wider society and the Muslim society, because both react same a different way. We have a very clear example last month from the France even as well. Um, as Sister Lorraine mentioned, that the door is open and it came down a little bit, but we know very well that Ireland has been very easily influenced whenever any world events happens. And unfortunately, I feel that the other two, my respectable sister and brother, might seem more, because Dublin is more bigger, more complex society. We don't see that often, that kind of Islamophobia on the streets, probably in County Kerry, because I think there are two or three very important factors we have to say. I have to go back a little bit about one point of Islamophobia, that see, Islamophobia happens because of lack of understanding of Islam. Just like Brother Shagor said, like 8 years later, the neighbor mentioned. I can tell you one thing, that I was standing on the one information stall. We never started information stall before 2 years after the Kerry Islamic outreach. Once we totally, I would say, integrated with the tidy town campaigns and the beach cleaning and few more projects. When we started the information stall, people already knew us, that who we are. But still, at the end of the day, many don't know. So one person came up and asked us about that, like, what are you trying to achieve? And he was just doing this in an aggressive tone, just like other people have done it. But in a half a minute time, his wife and little child came, who I looked after myself as as a pediatrician, and totally the tone changed, because now I'm a person who look after their children. So the point is that, like, if you touch their life, either feeding them, either in any way you have done something for them, uh, Islamophobia will never happen, because we have receiving messages after many times that we would like to stand beside you. And I'm sure the other two brother and sister would agree that they would have received same messages. I've seen it in their Facebook pages, that they will support and stand beside us as a protection a few days after some bad events happen in the world, purely because they care about us. And it comes back to the same point, that 10 years back or 15 years back, there is no Muslim organizations coming out to do all that what Sister Lorraine and Brother Shagor have started. Something which needs time, something we need amazing effort. I mean, like, I would only say to the audience, go and see Muslim Sister of Ireland Facebook page uh, in winters, in snow, and what's happening. People have to come out, spend the time for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it from us. But just one hadith is enough to say that a neighbor in Islam doesn't have to have a faith. 7 doors on the right, 7 doors on the left, and in some hadith, 40 on the right and 40 on the left. That's enough for us to come out and ask them, how are you doing? Regardless what kind of conduct they have. If they have a bad conduct, like Brother Shagor said, even after 7-8 years, they will change. Usually they change early. He is unlucky to have 8 years, but they usually change early. And that's something is about that. Our motivation as a Muslim community is also like, mashallah, 70,000 Muslim community people exist. Do we have enough community groups to work in every single town in Ireland? Not at this moment. And that something has to be looked upon in order to tackle Islamophobia as well.
Okay, just to echo what you said, Dr. Khan, we as Muslims, we need to take initiative and stretch our hands so that we can reach out to wider community and integrate and tell people who we are, what we do, and just introduce ourselves. Sister Lauren, do you think that this is a two-way process?
Definitely, it's a two-way process. I mean, Islamophobia, I think, can come from both communities. It can come from the non-Muslim community and the Muslim community themselves. So it's about you know, first of all, working within our community, and it's just mainly with sisters for us, is to get these sisters from, as Dr. Rizwan said, these bubbles. I call them ghettoism. The different communities stay within their own bubble. And, you know, a Bangladeshi sister stays among the Bangladeshis because she speaks that language. They come from that country. They feel comfortable. The same with the Pakistani sisters, the Arab sisters, the Kenyan sisters. So it's taken a sister from each one of the communities. This is the way forward. Taking each sister, giving her that confidence, helping her to grow, helping her to step out of that square. Just step out. See how you can integrate. And if them sisters build that confidence and know how to integrate into society, they will bring it back into their square. And then what happens is, it's like a flower. It comes out, and each sister then goes out among the community. Islamophobia, the only way forward for Islamophobia is dialogue, constant dialogue, events, working with non-Muslim organizations, opening the door to constant, as I said, dialogue, events. See, Muslim women are, as I said in the beginning, they're the most misrepresented women in the whole of the world. That's what I can see at the moment. And if you open that door to events and to have events just for non-Muslims only and bring them in, something like what Dr. Rizwan does with Discover Islam, once a year you have to open Islamic Day. It's absolutely beautiful. We do events like that 2 or 3 times a year. We hold big conferences and we invite NGOs. And I think the way forward is non-Muslim NGOs. We bring them in from different organizations and they represent a bigger community outside. And we'll have different discussions, we'll have different dialogue, we'll have different speakers talking about different topics of the life of a Muslim woman. And you'll find that they learn huge amounts when they're with us there. And then they will take that out and they will bring it further into their communities. And it helps the possibility of I'm not educating. Yeah, well, yes, educating the small minority who have a way of thinking about Muslims. If there's something on the telly, if there's a terrorist attack, the weight is on our shoulders. Should we apologize? Should our head be down? No. This is not part of Islam. This is not the beauty of Islam. So we kind of educate. I'm going to use the word educate. We do educate them and we help them have a better understanding. Now, one of the goals
Sister
that we
Lauren, if
have
I may
achieved, and
interject for you,
sorry,
sorry if I may interject you. You have covered loads of ground there. Can you hold on to the topic of
Mhm,
education for a bit? We'll come back to that
mhm.
after the break. So far,
Okay.
audience, so far we have discussed what integration is and what are the barriers and the challenges. Now we will take a short commercial break, and after the break, we will talk about what we are doing and what we can do. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Let's change the day.
ভুলে যা আর মনে ভেসে যা অজানা খুশিতে হারিয়ে চল জীবনে টক মিষ্টি স্বাদের মজা নে জীবনে আছে কি আজ আর আবার তুই বল
আম আর তেঁতুলের চটপটা মজাদার স্বাদে টমি চাটনি জীবন হোক না আর একটু বেশি টক মিষ্টি।
এসে গেল তাজা আমের মজায় আমরস ম্যাঙ্গো জুস আমরস ঠান্ডা টক মিষ্টি স্বাদ আর পুষ্টি আমরস ম্যাঙ্গো জুস আমরস
টেস্টি জুসি আসল আমের রস মানেই আমরস আমরস ম্যাঙ্গো জুস
টাটকা তাজা খেতে মজা।
বাংলার চিরচেনা স্বাদ সিয়াম এগ্রো লিমিটেডের বিস্কুট চানাচুর চিনিগুড়া চাল সহ মন মাতানো স্বাদের সকল পণ্য এখন বিশ্বজয় করে বাংলাদেশে। মুনাফুড স্বাস্থ্যকর সুস্বাদু।
ঠান্ডা ঠান্ডা তাজা তাজা কফি আর আমের মজা হাতের মুঠোয় রে ও প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক মানে লাইফে ডাবল মজা রে ও প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক
তৃষ্ণা মেটাতে মন ভরাতে আসল কমলা আর আমের স্বাদে প্রমি পাউডার ড্রিঙ্ক।
Welcome back. Before the break, we have discussed what integration is and what are the barriers and challenges. Now we will discuss what we are doing and what we can do. May I ask Sister Lorraine, uh, as part of MSOE, what you have done in terms of education? As you mentioned earlier on, that like you, MSOE has done some contribution for in terms of education and has contributed to the books in primary and secondary education. Can you please go through that?
Okay, so we've been working with the Department of Education since 2018 for the junior and leaving cert book in 2019. The Muslim Sisters of Eire were featured in the junior cert cycle Inspire 1, junior cert book and Inspire leaving cert book. So it was a small part under faith and charity. And the Muslim Sisters of Eire and the work they are doing is covered in that. But 6 months prior to that, there's a big organization here. It's called Nationwide, RTE. It's a very famous Irish program. It's on 7 nights a week and has up to 3 million viewers every week. When Nationwide got in contact with us, they covered us for one of their programs. And we wanted to get the rights of that to show it up on our Facebook and our website. But Mashallah Tabarakallah, the Department of Education took the rights to that. And that also is in the schools. You cannot get it. It's on RTE Learn for the secondary school teachers to give to their students. Now, in 2020, the beginning of 2020 in January, the Department of Education got in contact with us again, and they were doing a bigger book on Islam. So they were covering a lot of different aspects in Islam, and they asked us to review that book. And they covered us as well, and that book got a bigger version of it. It's absolutely amazing. And then last year in June, the teachers, Department of Education was having one of the authors from the book was having a national conference for all the teachers all over Ireland, and they asked Muslim Sisters of Eire to do a workshop on it. And in that workshop, we launched our campaign called This Is Me. And that went out to schools, and it was to help, the youth understand about Muslim women. And it was an open floor for questions and dialogue for the youth, because I feel the youth are our future of tomorrow. And that went nationally. We were schools all over Ireland. It was absolutely fantastic. With the coronavirus now in 2020, another Department of Education book got onto us there recently, and we had to do a lot of this over Zoom. And it's called Soul Seekers, and that is going into the Leave Cert now for 2021. And there was a big video done, and that video is going out to colleges as well. So yeah, so it's absolutely took off. It's absolutely amazing, and I think that is the way forward. It's educating our tomorrows. I always call them our tomorrow future, which is the youth. The youth is tomorrow. And there's the process as well of another program, RTE. We're beginning filming next Wednesday, and that's called Eating with the Enemy. So it's getting two people with two different opinions coming together. So yeah, inshallah.
Okay. Just to echo on what you said about education, I think education plays an important role when it comes to integration, creates
Very.
awareness within the society. May I ask Dr. Khan, what was the need to establish Kerry Islamic Outreach Society?
That's a very difficult and also easy question as well, because as I said to you before, that I was in Dublin for 11 years, and as Sister Lorraine mentioned, it was a nice bubble where you work in the hospital and you have some Pakistani friends, and then that's it. That's your life, you know. And you will have some friends here and there, Irish as well, in the hospital, but it's still to the hospital. And then I moved to Cambridge for my fellowship, and there I met an excellent Muslim community and also the wider community, where I saw one day there was a protest against the new mosque in Cambridge, which now is the first green effect mosque in the whole world. You might have heard about it. So the English Defence League EDL came there and in front of the construction area. And what really baffles me at the time, confused as well, that there were probably 300 people were standing, and out of those 300, 270 would have been local white British non-Muslim community friends. There were only 30 Muslims were there. They are the ones who were standing for the support of the Muslim community. And that makes you think about that what exactly they have done right, that this is such a nice cohesive community in Cambridge, and that leads towards education, Lorraine have mentioned. But anyway, to cut the story short, that then I moved back as a consultant pediatrician in Tralee, and we found out, just like what we found in Dublin, a great small community among themselves, but there is no major outreach was happening. So that leads to me, and more than me, my wife, I have to say, who took the initiative about it. And I have to say, even the Kerry Islamic Outreach Center was found by one of the local Muslim sister who was from Ballyhike. And again, I always say the backbone of the Kerry Islamic Outreach Society was always women, always sisters, always teenage girls who look after our things, then brothers always. So the reason was that we need to step outside outreach in order to do three main aims of our organizations: breaking barriers, clearing misconceptions, and promoting integration. And that was the last 7 years we're trying to do by working basically with the wider community groups in order to achieve dialogues, understanding, and friendship with them, rather than doing our own project where we will be among ourselves and there will be no kind of interaction, no kind of dialogue, and no building of new friendship. And in the last 7 years, probably we built amazing bridges among ourselves and the community in Kerry to a level that it's just unbelievable. All I can say, like, it's one of the best experience we would have, where we can cherish it all the time.
So that your organization has been working as creating building a bridges within the societies, within the different communities, and it has created a platform to reach the wider community. Mr. Shamim, may I ask, like, you are always on the run, you are always on the streets at GPO. What made you to start this foundation? Especially you are working with homeless people, and what is the reaction you are getting?
Actually, Tasnuva is my daughter who born in 2007 and one was in 2007. Tasnuva is a special needs child, which makes me inspired to form an organization as Tasnuva Shine Foundation Ireland. Tasnuva Shine Foundation, when I started, I have I have a two aim actually. One, I started with the homeless people, and another, I realized in our community, the integration is the main focus. I started almost more than in 2017 with the integration program. I realized community need more integration with people. And there, as you know, as you mentioned, the City of Ireland's have a lot of opportunity for migrant people for integration. Tasnuva found run every year cultural festival, and I got funding from the Ministry of Justice. We got funding from the Ministry of Justice. The Shamim Foundation was invited by the ministry in 2019, launching the Community Integration Fund. And the Shamim Foundation was one of the two organizations, the school organization in Ireland, immigration. As I say, the Shamim Foundation about the Shamim we for the integration and the minister and the integration fund were impressed with our concept, putting multicultural community in Ireland through our community integration and contribution to Irish society. As I also got an opportunity to explain how a small funding can make a big direct, big and small indirect impact on the community. This including helping migrant who is isolated to connect local communities. The long-term impact of mental health and happier society equates to a functional contribution. You know, the integration makes an opportunity to support all type of people in our society. And Tasnuva Foundation is making many programs to promote integration in Ireland society. As we have a dialogue, we promote the Foundation Ireland promoting integration through peace, love, and unity. We organize a program with the Dublin North Police Superintendent every 6 months, last 3 years, where we invite all the communities leaders and even Irish community people, I mean multicultural community background people, invite in one platform and talk about how we can bridge action with each other. As you know, our community, many people are really do not to keep contact with the police, and they do not to inform if they have any problem. We have a problem, but we don't inform police because we find difficulties. So we organize this type of program in different malls, different community, in the schools, and try to promote through multicultural community in the society. So it is one of our, in our organization, promoting through social service activities in Ireland.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Shamim. Just to summarize what he said like the Ministry of Justice have a strong policies and have also the integration funds available for the communities who want to play a part in promoting integration. May I ask Sister Lorraine, do you think the facilities or the infrastructure provided by the Ministry of Justice, are they enough, or do you think that they can be developed more, or you need more facilities?
Definitely. This budget came out about maybe 3 years ago. The Minister Staunton, he actually came to visit in my office, and we had a long meeting and a long chat together, myself and Minister Staunton, about integration and the way forward. And he told me about the bursary and about the 5,000 grant once a year coming out, and asked us to work on a different project with him. I said it to him then, and I'll say it now to the new ministers, Roger O'Gorham, and that no, there's not enough. There isn't enough. There's big room for improvement. The bursary that's given once a year, there's so many groups out there, and it's a small, so the capping is 5,000. That's very small. When you have, like our organisation, we have paid workers, we have TUS workers, we have our office rent, we have our internet, we have huge outlet, bills. And a 5,000 grant once a year isn't enough. It's not enough for the amount of work that the organisation does. Now, I'm not only speaking about my organisation, I'm speaking about many different organisations who are not Muslim organisations, because it's about integration. It's different ethnic minority groups. I don't think there's enough being spent. I don't think that there's enough being done. And that's just me talking as a native Irish woman coming out and me saying, I've always said I'm very blessed to live both sides of the tracks, has a non-Muslim and has a Muslim. So I see what is missing there, and there is huge need for improvement with integration. If we have more funding for integration, you have more way of dialogue on many different aspects. And if you have that, then you have a key to nearly demolishing Islamophobia or any other kind of racial attacks to any other different religion, race, colour, creed, so forth and so on. So no, I do think there's big room for improvement, and I certainly don't think there is enough being done.
Okay, thanks. Just to echo on what you said, you mean to say there is a need for more grants for the integration society, and also, as you mentioned about racism, one of the risks of no integration is racism and discrimination, and which is not good for the society. Dr. Rizwan, may I ask you that, like, if the grants are increased, do you think the society or the communities have capacity to do the jobs?
Say that, well, Waheed, is it if the grants are increased?
Yeah, if the grants are increased, do you think the community which are involved in integration, do they have a capacity to deliver what is required?
I I I have to say that, like, I probably will not be the best person to answer that because we don't receive it. So certainly, like, our work happens on our own voluntary basis. But again, I know one thing for sure, that even 5,000 grant cannot even cover Sister Lorraine's half of the rent of the month, because Dublin is so expensive. So certainly there has to be a realistic uh, attitude and realistic kind of approach comes up when we are talking about a serious effort towards integration strategies. So I think the whoever the powers to be, they have to come and listen about this from those groups who are actively involved in integrating work. So there is a whole culture, usually in every government in any world, that, like, for the sake of showing, they will throw money for the sake of the media, but it's not really channeling to the real groups which really needing it. So I think at the end of the day, this is something where the whole financial management comes into the picture. That, like I work with HSC, and when we talk about the finance management in the of COVID for the hospital and everything, we have to cut down certain areas. We have to improve certain areas, and there is going to be a meeting for those strategic plannings. Same way, if the grant has to be will be, for example, given in the right groups, I have a firm belief that yes, the process of integration would be more faster and smoother, and it's a continuous process. Why, as we said initially in the program, you asked me about what are the challenges from the first generation versus second generation. 50 years back here, maybe someone else is sitting and talking about the third generation problems. Because when we talk about generations of generations, various new complexities evolved, which we have no idea. One of the examples you can see is US, Black Lives Matters, for example. They're all there for more than a century now, but still there's a problem there and it needs to be tackled. So I think it's a continuous process, and it needs to be funded in a righteous way.
Thank you. Mr. Shamim, your organization, Tasnuva Shamim Foundation Ireland, is a recipient of the grants. What do you think? Do you think that do you get enough volunteers to help and support you to achieve your organization goals?
Yes, as I would just add, as you asked, the volunteer is very key. And I said the grant, but if there is no grant, integration, like let's say grant, but we can find other ways to promote integration programs. For example, when I make, as I said, I make many programs, and I actually spend less money in the programs. You know how I manage it? Let's say last program we spent about 9,000 in our festival program. When I submitted our papers, we show that we have spent about 8 or 9,000 euro, but we only got 5,000 euro. But the 4,000 cover with the community. Let's say somebody can sponsor me for the food, somebody can sponsor me for the drink. So the community come forward to promote integration. We can involve community people in these programs to cut our money. So this is how we can actually uh, uh, promote integration program, spend less money, involve more community people, because we have many restaurants, many shops, many business people. If we can involve them, try to tell them to promote integration programs, we can spend less money to manage our programs. Actually, I organize many programs in community integration, and I spent not too much money than the funding from the Ministry of
Saying,
Justice. Actually, I got
Mr.
no
Shamim, that
of justice here. I
okay,
got,
you
and
can
the
say
rest
that like
I
you are
with the
getting satisfactory level of contribution within the from the society, from the community itself, in terms of like getting a free food and other services, and also you are trying to get more volunteers involved. May I ask, just we will just go to the last two rounds of questions before we wrap up. May I ask, like, what is the vision for integration? May I ask Dr. Ridwan Khan to reply to that? What is the vision for integration, let's say for in the next 10 years' time?
Yeah, so I think the vision, I will use the word hope. So my hope for the integration for the next 10 years would be that
That's good.
we would have a lovely society where people know each other well because of the awareness, education, good strategic programs, and I was hoping that like there will be more these kind of a humanitarian projects like feeding the homeless would be happening all over the country. I forgot to mention another very important project, which is the Feed the People in the Cork. Another guy, his name is Ali, he does it. And I have to say that like he's another very, very gentleman who's doing it. And again, in my view, that brother Shagor and sister Lorraine are the beacon for this project kind of a thing, like that they started the homeless among the Islamic community, and people will can able to replicate that. I can say that my vision would be that like the Muslims children and youth would come out on the streets for a tidy town campaigns in their towns. How come, if you are going to do that, cleaning your own streets, helping the neighbors, because when we clean the streets, we do know each other, we know who is sick, who is unwell, and there are multiple uh, people in these counties whose children are not there, or they might have no children and then just need a human interaction, like a 5 minute chat on the street. Come out of the street uh, uh, holding the broom. They won't work, but they give you a glass of water, a small chocolate. But these are my visions, that like we should live in the country by our actions, and then automatically people will know exactly what Islam is, and they will not look at the Fox News, for example, what Islam is, by the way. So my vision is that
Okay. Just to
we, our
summarize,
next
Dr.
generation would
Khan.
be more proactive. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just to summarize what you said like very good thing that there is a hope for integration in the society where the community, the wider community, is so positively responding and accommodating the minority communities. We have just a few minutes left. May I ask each member um, to respond to a question, which is, what piece of advice would you like to give to any individual who like to integrate into the society? We will start with Sister Lorraine.
Well, my advice would be, when you have something passionate in your heart and you're doing it for the sake of Allah, you never let that go. You keep going, because you will be pulled down. That's a given. If you're not pulled down by the own Muslims within your own community, you'll be pulled down by the non-Muslims. When you become stronger, sometimes people don't like that, and that's within our community, our own community, and the outer community. If you're doing it for the sake of Allah, you never, ever, ever get sidetracked. You continue to know what you're doing. Your deeds is in your heart, and you know solely it's for the sake of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the day of judgment, this deeds will come back to you. Inshallah, help you in the akhirah. I say to people, never lose your vision, never get clouded. Rasulullah said our faith sometimes, the moon can pass, the cloud is there. It's the same when you're working like this for the sake of Allah. Continue to do what you're doing. Continue to have that passion, continue to have that stride, but also show empathy, love, compassion, understanding, dialogue. Reach out and give your hand out to others. If the hand comes down, reach further. If they go further to them. There's always a way forward, inshallah.
Just to summarize what you said, Sister Lorraine, it is really inspirational that your intention should be very pure, just for the sake of Allah. Nothing else. That should work, and never lose the hope. And it doesn't matter what barriers you come across, never bow down. May I ask now Mr. Shamim to give his opinion, his thoughts about advice
Yes.
to any individual for integration?
Actually, whenever you do anything, it has to be a focus. Your vision focus, sincerity, and we hope with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I started doing a lot of projects as well. Project, I ask subhanahu wa ta'ala and I do it. And alhamdulillah, as brother talking about the brothers in Brother Ali in years ago when he wanted to start this service, and I helped 6 months with our organization to core. So I inspire people to come forward to the community, because when you work, when you do integrate, so people learn from each other and do better for the community. So when we always think positive. So when we do positive things, other people will cope from you. Other people do it good things. And as sister said, when we do something for Allah, Allah will increase it. Allah will put love for us. And whenever you do it, whenever you do the things like that, you and us, all of us will get the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our work. So I'm happy anybody that working for the humanity, for the helping people, looking after each other, we all of us same route, and inshallah all of us will get the reward, inshallah, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Thank you, Mr. Shamim. May I ask Dr. Rizwan to give his opinion, give his thoughts about advice for any individual who want to integrate into society?
I mean, the advice for obviously, as a Kerry Islamic Irish Society, I would be advising my Muslim youth, first of all, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us an ample opportunity in this world. We have to say that we are blessed to be in Ireland with health, wealth, and all the other problems away from us. And it is qadar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are here in this country. On the day of judgment, we will be questioned for all these actions, that when I was there, what have I done for my neighbors? What I have done for somebody who's needy and poor? So certainly for the Muslims, there is no option. It's an obligation. So my advice to all the Muslim youth, I would say, is that, like, reach out for your neighbors, reach out for your elderly neighbors specifically, do a dialogue, interact with the people. There is nothing going against you by a small smile and helping, even a small thing, taking a small thorn out of the road. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given us rewards on every single good deeds with the right intention. If our next generation, which I'm very hopeful and positive about, I have to say, better than myself and this generation, I think we are going to see a very beautiful Ireland, inshallah.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. It is really inspirational. And right now we have to conclude this program. I thank you, especially the guest, for giving really, really motivational, inspirational insights about the topic and being part of this program. And I also like to thanks the viewers for logging in and tuning in and listening to this. And I hope we all, as a team, as a community, as a country, as a society, we try to bring a strong society. Thank you very much. Signing off, Waheed.